You know from the first podcast that you are somebody else's goal. In the second podcast, you heard how your purpose is predefined. When it comes to purpose, you don't have option but to fulfill the purpose you are designed for, which means it gets unconsciously programmed into you. In the third podcast, you realized how you have been meeting the expectations of your creators and others, and there also you don't have much choice, but you have to comply. In the fourth podcast, you heard about our unconscious behaviors and how we treat each other as property, having ownership title over each other. Now the question is, if we are somebody else's goal, our purpose predefined, we are others' blueprint, we are compelled to meet others' expectations, and others have an ownership right over us, then who is making decisions for us? Are we even living our lives? Since we are the outcome of somebody else's decision making, how will our internal decision making mechanism work when it comes to our creators and other people in authority? Can the creation overrule the creator's decisions planted in us? Is the decision making process operating independently within us? Can we override the decisions made by others? Let's explore. Firstly, we'll have to understand what decision making is. Let me give you an example. A person who feels parched and dry in the mouth is an indicator that one is thirsty and wants to quench the thirst. This stimulus signal provokes the thought to fulfill that desire. The goal is to have a glass of water. The person decides to go to the source of the water, well, tap, water fountain, water pot, etc., depending on the surrounding the person is living. In order to fulfill that desire, there are many micro decisions he or she has to make. Firstly, walk to the source of the water. Pick up a glass, clean the glass, pick up the water bottle, pour water into the glass, drink the water. And finally, thirst is quenched. Here the decision making is simple. If any of the micro decisions cause a hurdle, then an alternative has to be found. In decision making, there are different stages, various strategies, and all the actions one takes to reach the goal, including our behaviors, communication, and thinking, which depends on our beliefs. When there are too many choices, our decision making process becomes complex. You must choose one from them. Let's take the same example. If a person is thirsty, he or she may decide to have a glass of plain water or bottled mineral water, or juice or a beverage like Coke, Pepsi, Fanta, etc. Someone might want to have a chilled beer or a whiskey with chilled soda. There may be others who would want to have cold coffee or lassi. All these are choices and one must pick one over the other. Here, the person may make decisions based on their preferences. Some other people might want to drink boiled and bottled mineral water because they believe it could be contaminated with harmful germs and bacteria. In this case, a person's belief makes them do something before they consume water. Our beliefs greatly influences our decision making on a day-to-day basis. You are thirsty and you want something to drink. You ask for a glass of water. You are provided with a glass of water to quench your thirst. Your need is fulfilled. The loop is complete. If we go by this example, decision making directs your thoughts, behaviors, and communication, and appropriate actions are taken to fulfill your desire or your goals. When you drink a glass of water, your desire is fulfilled. The loop is complete. Thus, the loop is closed. Decision making is made up of many micro decisions to achieve the goal. The process of completing the goal with various micro decisions is known as a loop. Imagine a mother telling her son, Jimmy, to complete the school homework. The child happily does the task. The loop stands complete. When the child shows the homework to the mother, she says, "Your handwriting is ugly." Actually, the loop is complete, but the mother reminds the child of another goal and indirectly declares that the goal is unfinished. Thus, the loop remains incomplete. Even though handwriting was not part of the task, it is now getting highlighted. The child experiences negative emotions. Because the mother is not pleased, the child is made to write 2 pages to improve handwriting. The child does that task with negative emotions. Then the task gets completed, but on a negative note. If the loop is not complete, then it becomes an unfinished business. Now, let's look at the same example slightly differently. When a person asks you for a glass of water to fulfill their desire, their goal has been shifted onto you. You must complete that loop. Now the demand is placed on you. You must fulfill their desire or goal. That is known as expectation. That is, you are fulfilling others' wishes. When you serve a glass of water to the person asking for it, the loop is temporarily complete. The person might ask for another glass of water and then thank you for your kind gesture. Now the loop is complete. If the person does not acknowledge your kind gesture, you might feel incomplete. Thus, the loop could remain incomplete at your level and become unfinished business. Now, let's apply the logic to who we are. We are somebody else's goal, and the purpose embedded in us and must meet their expectations. Their desires are placed on us. When we meet others' expectation, it means we are complying with the demands of others. Our decisions are made on how to meet the challenges placed on us. All those decisions are compliance based. In this types of decision, there is no freedom or free will, but a compulsion, as if a gun is put on your head. The severity of it will vary depending on the situation and the individual's coping mechanism. This process of decision making generates stress, but we assume that's the way life is. We continue to comply with the demands no matter how much pain and difficulties we go through. Here we can go back to the case of Amit, who had been complying with the demands of his mother. Initially, he is happy to fulfill her requirements, but her demands keep increasing. Then he makes decisions trying to keep pace with her goals. He finds it challenging to keep pace with her. The decisions he makes are to please her, keeping her happy. Who is influencing his decision? Expectations mean compliance with others' decisions. If not, our survival is in danger. There is an unconscious survival mechanism within him that compels Amit to comply with his mother's goal. His compliance decision making leads him to financial debts. Amit's stress levels are at their peak and he wants to make a premature exit, suicide, because his system can't keep pace with her expectation. Amit is the goal of his parents and his purpose is predefined. He is fulfilling the expectations of his parents, especially his mother. Initially, he thinks it is his duty. The mechanism is embedded into him that he is supposed to meet his parents' expectation because he is their property. If one meets others' expectation, how is one making decision? Expectation means meeting others' goal. Amit's mother has already placed her demands. Thus, his mother already influences his decisions. In this case, who's making decisions for him unconsciously? Does Amit have a choice? Amit can either give in to her demands or say no. Saying no is not easy for Amit, which generates another set of negative emotions. There is a tug of war within him. His system freezes and he is unable to make decisions. Here we come to a domain of yes or no. Can yes or no be a choice given to a person be a part of the decision-making process? Yes or no looks like choices given to a person. It does not fall into the domain of choice. Let's take an example. Say you would like to have a chocolate ice cream and your friend offered you vanilla flavor. You can accept the offer by saying yes or reject it by saying no. There could be a variety of ice cream flavors, but your friend is not giving you a choice. You feel compelled to eat what is offered, or you simply decline it. When one makes a decision that is made from choice, there is a direction. Yes or no means someone else has made a choice and you have to approve or give your consent. It also implies a conclusion is arrived by another person and you are giving permission to go ahead or not. Let's take another example. An insurance policy salesman calls, "Shall we schedule our meeting for Wednesday or Friday?" In this case, the decision is already made by the salesman that he is meeting his client. His intent is clear and has provided the customer with an elusive choice, Wednesday or Friday, which is also pre-decided by the salesman. How much choice is offered to the client? None. The customer is just complying with the demands of the salesman and is indirectly compelled to agree to the plot laid out to meet his agenda. One of my clients, Shelley, who had worked for 9 years in a firm, was very emotional because her boss had insulted her in front of others. She was not at fault. She realized that his wife influenced her boss on certain issues she was not directly connected with. She could not face the embarrassment. She was on the verge of putting in her resignation. I asked her who had made this decision to resign. She said it was she who had made the decision. My next question was, would you have made this decision if your boss had not scolded you? The answer was no. Then, whose decision is it to resign? She was confused. If the boss hadn't had to scold you, you wouldn't have resigned. Which means if the event hadn't happened, you would have continued to work in the same firm. That means the event compelled you to make this decision. Am I right? She agreed to this argument. That means, who compelled you to make this premature decision? The boss and his wife, didn't they? Suppose you withdraw some cash from an ATM machine. Then you step out of it and a man puts a gun on your head and asks for the money. Would you say that you voluntarily parted with the cash? No. It also implies that others are forcing you to decide when you are not at fault and you don't even have an alternative placement. Would it be right to make a premature emotional decision when you are not at fault, don't even have an alternative income, and your bosses indirectly compelled you to do so? She understood the situation and reconsidered her decision until she found a better alternative. Shelley was making emotional decision, which was unhealthy for her growth and livelihood. There are two types of decision-making processes, a practical and pragmatic way of decision-making, and the other emotional decision-making. Shelley was on the verge of making an emotional decision. When I explained, she understood and made a practical and pragmatic decision. Decision-making is way different when it's your goal, but when you are meeting others' expectation, your decision-making process depends on others. You will take a risk when it is your goal. When you are meeting others' expectations, you will experience compulsion or will have to follow orders. When it is your goal, you can choose to do it the way you want. With expectations, you have to comply with the other person's specification. Emotional decision-making mostly happens when a person is meeting another person's expectations. Every emotional decision involves you meeting others' expectations. You are dependent on others for your needs. If you don't oblige their requirement, your survival is in danger. There are 3 different types of survival mechanism. Each one is different from the other. Your decision-making could come under one of those categories. Then your decision-making will also be uniquely different. To know more about your survival mechanism and decision-making, kindly read my books, Stop Surviving, Start Living with Freedom, and The Self-Decoded. Now coming back to our main question, who is making decisions for you? It is just like saying, can the pot undo its purpose the Creator have designed it for? The blueprint is already planted in us at birth, and the purpose is set in motion. That is why many of us oblige to the demands of our creators. There are others who get frustrated and angry with others, trying to go the other way and set themselves free. Your outcome is predefined before you are born. Your decision has to be in alignment with the Creator's. If not, there will be disharmony and imbalance in your life. When we meet the expectations of others, we have to comply with their decisions. Since they have created us to fulfill their desires, those goals are embedded in us at birth. Maybe we are unaware of them, but the survival mechanism within us will unconsciously compel us to fulfill them. If we don't meet their demands, negative emotions will trigger and self-sabotage will occur. Even if you meet all your parents' demand, final approval is in their hands. It is similar to Jimmy's example mentioned earlier, who needs approval from the mother on whether the homework is complete. The mother changes her goal and shifts it to handwriting. The loop remains open. As we being the goal of others, the decisions also are in the hands of others. Our freedom lies in their hand. You can't undo the process until you understand the working of your internal mechanism. I don't mean that you should not meet others' expectations, but you should be able to make the distinction between your permissible limits and what is demanded of you. You must develop your own internal mechanism and make decisions for your well-being. You have to communicate your issues and be ready to face the consequences. To avoid repercussions, we make decisions out of fear, which is an undercurrent built within our system. Before we conclude this podcast, you can ask yourself, how do you arrive at your decisions? Who is making decisions for you? Is your decision making an independent process or do others influence it? You can think and analyze whether others are influencing your decision making. If that is true, then is it possible to live a life of true freedom? Or are you trapped in an illusionary decision making process? To listen to more podcasts and to watch YouTube videos, please feel free to visit my website at www.livingwithfreedom.com. I also have 2 books available for purchase on various platforms: Stop Surviving, Start Living with Freedom, and The Self-Decoded. The better you know who you are and the working of your internal mechanism, the more likely you will experience joy and peace. In the upcoming podcast, you will have an opportunity to learn something new and unique. In the meantime, I encourage you to look for opportunities to express gratitude for everything around you. See you next week.